All right, good morning. I am Scott Schulte. You can tell I'm not Marlin, right? Thank you very much for tuning us in here. This is Market Day Report. I appreciate you coming on. Let's go through the overnights and see how things did there. You'll get an idea about where we're starting the day. Let's bring up corn first and see what that's got in store for us. What did it do overnight? Let's take a look at the big board behind that big head. Look at the size of that forehead. Okay, corn is down 5 3/4 cents overnight. 654.5 was last. It's continuing its losses that we saw yesterday. May adding on to the losses too. 6 1/4 cents lower to 653 overnight. So that's going to give you an idea about the general overall feeling there. The new crop D's down to 583 3/4, just 3/4 of a cent off the lows of 583. That was just down 1 3/4 cents, but still, you can tell that that's a little bit bruising in terms of prices. How about soybeans? Well, March in the front is up a half cent, 2 ticks, right? 15.34 3/4. But let's look at the May, 1 1/4 cents lower to 15.26, 2 3/4 cents lower in that July. But we'll go out to the new crop and see what that did overnight. What do the new crop beans do with this technology? It's slowly but surely, it's still kind of cold in here. There we go, 6 3/4 cents lower to 13.81. Looking to hold on to that 13.80 line now after going up and kissing that $14 level earlier in the week. All right, let's take a look at wheat, Chicago wheat. What's going on there? Well, I'll tell you what, it's going to be another one of those days, right? 11 1/4 cents lower in the March. 727 is last. May was 11.5 cents lower overnight to 739 even. So that's Chicago wheat. Let's take a look at Kansas City wheat. That's the hard red wheat there. Much more of the same, as I say. More MOTS, more of the same. 12 1/4 cents lower in the March to 849.5. May's 13 cents lower to 843 3/4. Spring wheat, we now go over to Minneapolis, and that's about half as much to the downside. 6.5 cents lower in the front month, and then 901.5. That's May. That's March. Sorry, 901.5. May's 896 even, down 8 cents itself there. And we can check in on cotton. I think cotton was a little bit better. Yeah, it's up 19 points in the front. That's 82.60 in March. Go out to D's. It's up 56 points to 82.78. So not much of a spread there between March and D's. Only about 18 points. So that's kind of interesting there. It's pretty flat, if you ask me. All right, let's bring in our guest analyst. It's Brian Hoops from Midwest Market Solutions. Brian, thanks for joining the show. Well, we've had some fundamental news. We've had some technical news. We've had some geopolitical news. I mean, we've had a lot of stuff to unwrap. Where do you stand going into the ending the week here, and then what that looks like going into next week?
Well, you're right, Scott. Good morning. We've had all kinds of news thrown at this market, concerns about the Argentina soybean crop, the corn crop. Both of those are being downgraded by private analysts, the Buenos Aires Grain Exchange yesterday and again overnight. Export sales out this morning, which for wheat was a 4-week high, corn a 6-week low. But I don't know that really the market really cares about that fundamental type news or even the Outlook conference that came out very early yesterday morning. It looks like technicals are really dominating the trade here. We broke some key moving averages yesterday in corn and in wheat, and that set up a lot of selling by some of the fund traders. It looks to see the same thing again here overnight and early this morning. Very little bounce in the overnight trade. We saw a meaningless bounce really just right off of the opening, and then by the morning hours, we were back into that sell mode. And so, we may see kind of a washout here in some of these grain markets going into the delivery period. Corn and wheat act like they may see big deliveries at the early part of next week, which, we didn't see that really in the last delivery period, but it certainly may at this point in time where basis levels starting to back up in a lot of areas, especially in the western part of the Midwest.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, for a couple of weeks now, it seems like we've been talking about some of these moving averages, 20, 50, 100, 200-day moving averages all kind of laying on top of each other because we haven't been going anywhere. And a lot of analysts, I'm sure like yourself and myself, thought that, hey, it looks like we're kind of winding up here to make a move higher or lower. Nobody knew quite where yet, but it looks like we've gotten our answer. Yeah. And I think you're right. When that happens, okay, the general consensus is, okay, it's made up its mind. It was fairly resilient. These prices have been fairly resilient considering what's been thrown at them. But then when they finally start to, roll over, everybody's trying to leave that theater door at the same time.
Yeah, you're exactly right. We're probably going to see that, I think, again today. We saw just a lot of capitulation type selling, that big move that everyone was anticipating. Corn had been in a 6-week trading range
right.
just sideways, and now it's broken out to the downside. So 1 day, 1.5 days, we're probably going to see more funds selling than that. It's probably going to extend into 2, maybe 3 days.
All right. That's great stuff. Always super content. Stay right there, though. We're going to go away. We're going to pay some bills. I'm going to come back and talk more with Brian after this. All right, welcome back. Let's look at the other half of this coin. That's going to be the livestock. See where they closed yesterday, right? Let's take a look at live cattle in Chicago first. That wasn't very dynamic, was it? We were up 25 cents in the April. 165.32 is where we closed. June closed up 17 cents to 161.27. So we had that BSE scare in Brazil. We'll let Brian talk more about that if he wants in a minute here. But we've got the feeder cattle closes here for you from yesterday. April up $1.92 to 193.67. Well, May was up $2.10 to 197.72. And then finally, lean hogs, I believe if I remember correctly, lost a little bit of ground yesterday in the front. It did. April was down. But let's go to May, up just 20 cents to 95.95. And then we had June up 15 cents to 103.95. Let's bring back in Brian Hoops from Midwest Market Solutions. A lot of M's there, a lot of alliteration. All right, Brian, real quick, 60 seconds. What do you want to wrap up this protein segment with?
Pork sales this morning, very good number once again. Cutouts were higher, so if the pork market cares at all about fundamentals, should have a little bit of a firmer start this morning. Cattle market has cattle on feed this afternoon, should be a bullish report. Cash trade starting to develop in the north at $1 to $2 higher. We're looking at least steady, if not higher money in the southern trade that'll develop probably for the 4th week in a row on a Friday. And then also beef sales were okay this morning, but probably going to pick up as we mentioned the bad cow case in Brazil, China halting imports of Brazilian beef. And I think there are probably going to be other countries, Asian countries especially, that'll halt beef imports until they have this under control. That could open the door for U.S. beef exports down the road.
Perfect timing. Hard wrap in my ear when you finished. Awesome stuff.
Awesome.
You have a knack for doing it perfectly. Thank you very much. Have a great weekend and have some fun. Brian Hoops from Midwest Market Solutions coming to us from Springfield, Missouri. I'm going to bring it back here to Nashville so I can say good morning, Suzanne.